The night it started, I was wearing someone else's name. The gown was borrowed, the mask was porcelain, and it carried a stranger's perfume. The invitation belonged to my stepsister, and the money I was about to spend was never meant for me. None of it was mine, not the dress, not the identity, not the confidence required to walk into a room full of people who had been born knowing how to be in rooms like this. I told myself it was one night, in and out. No one would look closely enough to see through the mask. I was wrong. He looked, and he saw everything. His name was Dante Romano, chairman, crime lord, the kind of man who fills a room without trying and empties it just as easily. He caught my invitation when I dropped it at the entrance. Large hand, unharried grip, eyes that moved across the plerome of my mask and found my face beneath it. Before I understood what was happening, he already knew who I was. He had known before I arrived. What followed was not what I planned. It was a contract I signed under duress, a name I had to learn to answer to, a war I hadn't asked to be part of. And somewhere inside all of it, somewhere between the gunfire and the gasoline, and a man who poured both over himself to keep me alive, it became something I hadn't planned for either. This is how a woman with nothing becomes someone's everything. This is how a man who controlled everything learned to put the gun down first. I thought signing it would end the war, but it only changed the battlefield. He's not just a monster. He's my monster. This is our story. My name is Aria Sinclair. I clean for a living, just enough to keep a roof over my head. I was wiping down the sink in the hotel powder room when the door flew open. Victoria stormed in and lunged for my collar before I could even turn around.
Take this off. You're going to the bachelor auction tonight, in my place.
I tried to push her off. Buttons popped from my shirt and clattered across the tile.
What? I'm not playing your twisted games.
She yanked me inches from her face, her grip iron tight on the ruined fabric.
You are. Do this and I'll cover your rent, or you're out on the street.
My phone lit up in my pocket. I didn't need to look.
I already knew what the notification said.
Final notice. The number that had been waking me at 3 a.m. for the past 2 weeks. She shoved a gown against my chest. Silk. Expensive. Not mine.
You're bidding on Dante Romano. He owns the biggest restaurant empire in North America. I need his investment, but I'm too busy to go myself. Use my name, use my card. Don't blow your cover.
I looked down at the dress in my arms and felt the weight of having absolutely no other options.
Fine. You promise you'll pay my rent? I promise. Hurry up and change.
She left.
I stepped into the stall and pulled the gown on in the dark, already composing the version of this night I'd tell myself afterwards. It was just one evening, just one bid, just one name that wasn't mine. I'd be home before midnight.
No one would ever know. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have known, was that Victoria had done me one final cruelty before I'd even left the room. Dante is actually a Mafia Prince from the most dangerous family in the city. I'm not stupid enough to mess with a monster like him. Try not to get yourself killed tonight, stepsister.
She never said it to my face, just thought it. I stepped out in the gown, mask in hand, and walked into the hotel ballroom with $50 in my own bank account
and 1 million on her card. The ballroom blazed with chandelier light and old money. I found the seat labeled Victoria Sinclair and lowered myself into it, trying not to look like someone who had never sat anywhere this expensive. There was a plate of prime ribeye on the side table, untouched, like everything else within reach of these women. I picked up the fork without thinking. The steak was perfect. Nobody around me moved. A spotlight hit center stage. The host raised a microphone.
Ladies, welcome to the Bachelor Auction. Let the bidding begin. Our premier bachelor tonight, the prince of the Italian restaurant syndicate, Dante Romano.
He walked out like the room had been arranged around him. Jacket over one shoulder, silk shirt open at the collar, completely comfortable under 200 pairs of eyes. I stopped chewing. I recognized him instantly. The man from the entrance. The bidding started fast. 50,000, 100, 300, paddles rising across the room. With the easy confidence of women who spent this kind of money weekly, I gripped mine, without raising it, running the numbers in my head. Victoria's card had a limit. 1 million. A failsafe, she'd said. No one would actually bid that high. For a date. The room was slowing. 2 paddles left, then 1. A woman in the front row, cold-eyed, perfectly still. I raised mine. $1 million. Silence crashed over the ballroom. Every head turned. My cheeks went crimson.
Sold to Miss Victoria Sinclair.
I exhaled. On stage, Dante Romano was looking straight at me, not at the crowd, not at the host, at me, with the dark, amused expression of someone who had just gotten exactly what he came for. Rent covered, I told myself. That's all this was. He stepped off the stage and started walking in my direction. A staff member guided me backstage with a bright, practiced smile, the winner's suite, she called it. Private, champagne, a chance to meet your bachelor. The suite was dim. Dante was already inside. He leaned against the desk with a dead cigar crushed in the ashtray beside him, watching me cross the threshold. The way someone watches a door they've been waiting to open. He pushed off and started toward me, slow, deliberate, step by step.
Impressive, Mrs. Victoria. $1 million just to date me?
I kept backing up until my shoulder blades hit the cold wall. He kept coming until his arm slammed against the wall beside my head, trapping me in his shadow.
I had no idea you were so eager to have me.
Well, you're very attractive. That was the only truth I told for tonight. He reached for my mask. I clamped both hands over it. Don't touch it!
You dropped $1 million to own me. Don't I get to see my buyer?
He seized both my wrists in one hand and pinned them above my head. The mask hit the floor. He looked down at my face, and I looked up at his. And neither of us moved. I braced for recognition, for something in his expression to shift into understanding that I was not who the invitation said I was. Nothing shifted.
Don't hide yourself. Unless you have something else to hide, Mrs. Victoria.
The relief hit me so hard my knees went weak. He didn't know what Victoria looked like. I could keep pretending. His eyes narrowed, calculating, amused.
Cat got your tongue? Or are you lying to me?
No? That sounded like a question. He noticed. He drove his knee between mine and pressed my back flat against the wall.
Don't you want a little taste of your investment first?
Before I could answer, he grabbed my hands and flattened my palms against his bare chest. He'd pulled his shirt open while I wasn't paying attention, buttons scattered somewhere. His skin was warm and hard, and I couldn't make my hands move.
Touch what you bought.
He guided my hands down slowly, over the ridged lines of his abs, past his V-line, stopping at the cold metal of his belt buckle.
Like your investment so far? Go ahead. Unwrap the rest.
I was reaching for it. I couldn't explain why, when the door burst open.
Sir,
The car is ready.
I ripped my hands back. Dante shot Sam a lethal look. Sam's mouth snapped shut. I have somewhere to be. I have to go. I grabbed my gown and bolted. He didn't stop me. That was what I kept turning over on the way home, that he'd let me walk straight out of that suite, without a word. Not because he'd lost interest. Because he didn't need to hold me there. He already had what he came for. I just didn't know what that was yet. The thought sat cold on the back of my neck the whole way to my apartment. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself that all the way to my door, my pulse still high, the name on the auction receipt, Victoria Stinclair, starting to feel like something I'd tied around my own neck. Victoria called the next morning.
Did you win the bid for Dante? How was he?
I pressed a hand to my cheek. My skin still felt warm where he'd touched it. I did what you asked. Now pay my rent.
Not yet. You still have to go on the actual date and report back. No date, no rent.
She hung up. I stared at the dead phone on the sidewalk, furious, and then a Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop 6 inches from my sneakers. The back Dante stepped out and across the distance in 2 long strides and stopped directly in front of me.
I'm taking you on our $1 million date. Sign this.
He handed me a folder. I opened it. A marriage contract. A marriage contract? Are you insane? I'm not marrying you. We just met. You don't even know me. He yanked me by the waist, slamming my back against the Rolls-Royce door. His hand closed around both my wrists and pinned them against the hood. He leaned in until his lips were at my ear.
I know everything about you.
No, you don't.
I know you want me so fucking bad. I bet you rub yourself alone at night, wishing it was my fingers inside you.
The slap cracked out before I had a conscious thought. His head snapped to the side. I felt the sting across my entire palm. I stared at him. He turned back slowly, touched his cheek with the back of one finger, and looked at me with something that was almost appreciation. I will never marry a man who humiliates me like this. I bolted down the sidewalk and didn't look back. Behind me, I heard Sam's voice, then Dante's, quiet and unhurried.
Destroy her home. Make sure she has nowhere to go, except to me.
I turned the corner to my street and stopped. Where my building had stood, there was nothing but a mountain of dust and broken concrete. Rebar jutted out at angles. Insulation spilled into the gutter. One of my neighbors sat on the curb holding a plastic bag with everything she'd saved. My landlord stepped out from behind the rubble. 2 men flanked him, the kind with faces that had stopped caring about outcomes a long time ago.
Late on rent, Arya.
The building is gone! How can you
Lease still stands. Pay up, or I'll sell you to cover the debt.
One of the men grabbed my chin and looked me over.
Pretty little thing. She'll fetch a high price.
I twisted away and ran. They caught me in 3 steps, arms clamped around mine, a hand over my mouth. I kicked and screamed into his palm. A Rolls-Royce Phantom hit the corner of the street hard enough to send the landlord scrambling backward. The door flew open. Dante stepped out in a long, dark coat, drew a handgun from inside it, and leveled it at the 3 men without breaking stride.
No one touches my wife.
The goons dropped to their knees. The landlord followed.
Mr. Dante Romano, the Mafia Prince, we didn't know she was yours.
I looked at Dante across the rubble, in my work uniform covered in concrete dust, and understood with horrible clarity that this was where he had been leading me all along. Every door he had quietly closed. This exact street corner. This exact moment, nowhere left to go. He had engineered every inch of it. Dante stepped forward and stomped down on one of the goons' legs. The man screamed. The other went rigid. The landlord pressed his forehead to the broken pavement, shaking.
Please, Mr. Romano, have mercy. I'll never touch her again, I swear.
Dante kicked him hard in the chest, sent him sprawling, and raised the gun.
You touched my wife. You're already dead.
Then he turned and held the gun out to me. I don't... He yanked me flush against his chest. His free hand slid up and covered my eyes. The world went black. His lips were at my hair.
Ever touched a gun?
No. He pressed the metal into my hands and closed my fingers around it. Warm hand over my cold ones. His body solid behind mine.
Hold it tight. Feel how hard it is. And squeeze.
His finger pressed down over mine. The trigger pulled. The shot cracked through the street and tore through my whole body. He uncovered my eyes. The 3 men were still there. Kneeling, clutching their heads, gasping, unharmed. The landlord let out a broken, relieved laugh. Blanks. I stood in the street with the gun in both hands, shaking so hard I could feel it in my jaw, and Dante leaned close to my ear.
How did you feel when you pulled the trigger?
I was scared.
You can't be scared. You are a mafia wife. Watch and learn.
He took the gun back, spun the calendar, and fired 3 times. The men dropped and didn't get up. I clamped both hands over my mouth. Dante holstered the weapon and turned to me like the bodies behind him were furniture. He tipped my chin up with 2 fingers and looked at my face.
These are the consequences of messing with the mafia.
He was watching my expression with the same dark amusement he'd worn at the auction. I understood then, in the worst possible way, that he found me entertaining. If he ever found out I had lied to him, if he ever found out I was not Victoria, that I was just Aria, just a cleaner, this was what he would do. Sam appeared at his shoulder and held out a marriage contract. The corner was splashed with something dark. Dante took it and offered it to me without blinking.
Since you're homeless now, sign the contract and marry me. My protection is your only option.
What if I don't want to? Dozens of armed men closed in from every direction, materialized from the edges of the street, from alleyways, from behind the rubble, every weapon leveled at the space around me.
I don't think you have a choice.
I looked at the contract in my trembling hands, the ink blurred. I looked up at his face, the absolute absence of doubt in it, and picked up the pen. My name appeared on the line in small, shaking letters. He watched it happen. Something in his expression shifted. Not softened, but settled. The patience of a man whose plan had finally reached its last step. All around us, the armed men lowered their weapons in unison. The bridal dressing room was all mirrors and ivory light. 2 maids stood behind me, pulling the corset laces tight. The gown was stunning, the kind of dress that existed to be photographed and not to actually be worn by anyone. Not so tight, I can barely breathe. They looked at each other and tug again. Then, the door opened. The maids left without a word. In the mirror, Dante appeared behind me.
Too tight?
He took the laces from where the maids had dropped them, slipped his fingers underneath, and pulled back. The corset came apart in one clean motion. The bodice slacked and dropped, and I grabbed for it with both hands, spinning halfway around. He was already there, arms circling my waist from behind, his chest plush against my bare back, lips at my ear.
I'll be your husband. Call me Dante.
He began relining it, slowly, each downward loop deliberate, his knuckles tracing my spine as he worked. My skin responded before I could stop it. He felt it.
So responsive. Your body already knows who it belongs to.
He reached the base of my spine and yanked the final lace tight. The force jerked me back against him. I gasped his name before I could think not to. His hand found my jaw and tilted my face toward our reflection.
I can feel how much you want this.
Dante, the wedding is about to start. He smirked, tied a perfect bow, and stepped back.
Fine, little lamb. I can wait. See you at the altar.
I stood alone in front of the mirror for a long moment, pressing one hand to my chest, trying to understand why I'd reacted to his touch the way I had. I didn't find an answer before the music started. Dante led me down the aisle. The church was full. Hundreds of faces I didn't know watched us walk toward the priest, who stood with the patient expression of a man who had performed this ceremony in front of dangerous people before and knew better than to show nerves. Dante stopped beside me at the altar. He turned. I turned. Our eyes met, and neither of us looked away.
Do you, Victoria, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?
Dante watched me, the trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. Knowing, private, pointed directly at me and no one else. I opened my mouth. I was never Victoria, and I was about to vow and marry a dangerous mafia prince. I didn't have any other choices. I do. The doors blew open. Blair stormed in from the back of the church, flanked by 2 massive bodyguards pointing straight at me. Stop the wedding! She's not who you think she is! The music cut off. The guests froze in place. Every secret I had hidden since the hotel powder room, since Victoria shoved the gown into my arms, since I raised that poil, since his thumb brushed my cheekbone and his eyes looked as if they had known all along, rose in my chest at once. Dante didn't move. He stood beside me in perfect stillness, facing forward as always, and I couldn't read his face at all.